Outer Orange.
Today, we are going over some Shadowverse results because I have a lot to talk about. I'm actually really excited as some of the results revolve my shop and them just performing really well. I'm just so proud of them. It's just really nice to see people that are just generally awesome people doing well. I really vouch for my shop there. We actually have such a nice group of people. Shadowverse-evolve.com does show the results. This is Duluth. I did go to this event as well as I went to the Vanguard one day one. This was really fun. I ain't gonna lie, it's a cool, and I just was definitely really struggling on cool. I don't recommend taking that deck. I think people are too aware of the format. So I personally, my thought was for the event, it was going to be Kuon, Cool, and Dragon as the top 3 picks. I was 2 of the 3rds correct. It actually ended up being Abyss as the over Dragon, which is, I feel really bad for any Dragon players who went to this event because Abyss definitely like just destroys that deck. Wait, let's go talk about it. So we had this is the representation, not as much forest. We had a bit of sword, a lot of rune as I expected, a bit of dragon. I wasn't too far off. I expected the top 3 to be rune, Abyss, and idol. Oh, sorry, rune, dragon, and idol, and it was basically rune, Abyss, and Abyss and Haven actually 50-50 and idol. I wasn't completely wrong. So I was expecting that many Haven players. I remember I was talking to my boyfriend about this and he was like, oh, there might be a lot of Haven players. And I was like, nah, that's not gonna be that many. There's actually a good bit. Idol Master being the highest of the highest because it was a very represented deck, which funny is it did not convert very well. I think a lot of it has to do with mirrors as well. I bumped into 2 mirrors during my run and it really sucked. The mirror is absolutely horrendous. That's one of the main reasons I didn't want to play the deck, because I really don't want to face the mirror. And the mirror is just so, like, yeah, there's knowledge, but there's only so much you can do. It really just comes down to who opens better and who wins the dice roll. It really sucks. Kuon is the powerhouse of the deck. I still think this is the best deck in the format by far. I know results have been showing a little bit differently. I do still think it's really just an incredibly strong deck. It has the best matchup spread. I think that's what makes it really powerful. We had Abyss and Haven kind of take the middle ground here, like the basically in the 3rd slot of the most represented. Abyss is really good. I actually kind of am weird about Abyss. I think it's good, but also it has some matchups like auto loses to, that one of them being actually Haven, in my opinion. I think Haven just shoots it to the ground really quickly, especially if they're under the Marwyn engine. If they're playing like a little bit of a different build like Egg or something else, it'll definitely be like a little bit more in favor of Abyss. But if they're playing control Haven, it is very hard for the Abyss player. I actually think the under the right hands Haven just auto wins into Abyss almost. Yes, so I know some people will disagree with me on this because they're like, oh, but Yuzuki actually isn't that great, especially if Haven takes first. I actually think it's very in Haven's favor if they just go first into it. I know it's crazy. I know all this stuff's crazy because it's crazy to hear because, oh, well, you want giving Abyss second makes them better, all this stuff. You'll be surprised how much Haven gets in the lead, especially if you're running a banish heavy engine. Like Abyss eventually just runs out of tools and the Haven player will just keep playing the game, and that's usually where the cutoff is. Taking first is just significantly stronger. You can Marwyn, they can't answer the Marwyn. If you really banish some cards, you will just win the game off of that. It's crazy. Like I said, it can be rough. I'm not saying it's a perfect matchup, but I do believe Haven is in favor into Abyss if they know the matchup really well. I think it's a very matchup reliant discussion. I feel that if both players know the matchup, I think Haven wins in the long run. First place list. So this was actually Brian. This is actually one of our shop players. He's very known for Vice, and he decided to play Shadowverse. I think he recently got into it. I can't remember exactly when he started playing it, but he got into it, and actually it was really fun watching him like get into the game. I'm actually the person that he bought my leader from, which I believe is the leader he's using in here. I haven't looked yet. I'm pretty sure it's the same leader, so it's crazy to think that he just bought a leader from me recently and then he won the whole event. So big props to him. He definitely picked a really good deck to start on. He was very smart in his decision making. I feel I did watch a little bit. I didn't get a chance to see the finals because the group I was in was just really hungry, and then some people had to go back to get back home, and so I had to leave a little bit early, so I didn't get a chance to see the finals. But I watched semifinals and top 8. It was really nice to watch. And yeah, he runs the 4 snipes, which is very important to this format. You really need 4 snipes. It's just too important. You need to answer cool as fast as possible. Insight is insane because you get to draw through your deck faster, even if you're playing into decks that are a little bit slower, like Haven. The Penguin obviously comes up. Penguin Wizard's good. Traditional Sorcerer, just for traditional Sorcerer shenanigans. We got the little bit of a search here. We got Rhyme Wind. Rhyme Wind is insane, especially into cool. If you just Rhyme Wind them, they just kind of lose the game. You keep using it over and over again. A couple other cards here. These are more obvious cards: the Trail of Lights, the Surefire Bullets, Demon Caller, Merlin. The usual. Concentration is a little bit more interesting. I haven't seen concentration be as used in some Kuon lists recently, but hey, it comes up. Meteor Storm is pretty cracked, and the Curse Crafter, all the other stuff. But really good goodies, but really very much congratulations to him. It was very awesome to see him perform well. I remember I saw top 8. I was like, wait, what? Brian's in there. So it was just really cool to see. So very exciting stuff. And then this is basically the Evolve. And then he is using the Cornelia leader. This is second place list, so this was also from our shop, funnily enough. So he changed his build quite a bit. Last time I played him, he had a different build. I could tell just from looking at it that he changed a couple things. But this is basically the build he decided to stay on, and he got second. I have a pretty actually similar build to this, so I'm really glad to see that he decided to change it up a little bit. I think he was running the Banished Girl, the one that's like a 3-drop, that's a 2-4, and she has a 3-5, and she banishes the cards. I think he was running that, and I guess he took it out to just optimize on a more heavy cool matchup. He's not running the counter attack card, which is very interesting. I think he was before, but I remember sure. I think he took it out for the focuses. I don't think he was running focus before, but overall, pretty good build. I really like this deck. This is actually the deck I was going to take if I wasn't taking cool, and I actually regret not taking PP. I actually really wish I took this deck. I was testing this deck a lot, so I kind of regret not being on this deck. I was a little, I didn't believe in it, and I really should have. I think this deck's actually really strong, especially in this format with a bunch of cool players. You just auto answer most cool decks very easily. I do want to emphasize the Gravity Grappler. I think people are really sleeping on this card. Every time I play this card, like, that's like nothing, and then it's something, and then it's something. It turns like you don't answer this card. If you don't answer this card just instantly like elevates the deck so much faster. I also noticed he took out Dark Jean, and he was playing Dark Jean before. I wonder what the thought behind that was. I also noticed in the Themis Decree, I don't think he was running Themis before either. I think his build is a little bit more aggressive before. He made it a little bit more defensive this time. Also running Lucifer. Lucifer is interesting. I've noticed some PP players starting to play Lucifer. It helps her survive because it heals you, and then you can evolve it and burn, which is really good. I also really support the Kaede. I think this card's actually insane. It answers so much random crap that randomly comes on the board. She banishes anything, and then if you do get rushed down by whatever chance it happens, you can play the sword, get rushed down, right? This card just says, hey, I'll fix that for you. You heal 5 and you draw a card. Like sometimes you'll be just in lethal range, and then this card will completely get you out of lethal range. So just this card's insane. Obviously, we have the Marwyn. Marwyn's pretty standard. John's pretty standard. Corella is such an insane card as well. You read it and you see that's okay. But basically at 2 play points, you burn your opponent at end phase. At 4, you draw, and at 6, you destroy something. And it's you have to select, so you can't kill everything. Really insane card. I think I vouch for this card like crazy. If you open this card with like a Marwyn and a Jean, you kind of just win the game. Of course, you still want to find your spells and stuff like that, but you kind of just win the game. Let's talk about Focus real quick. I feel Focus is a very weird card. Focus basically makes your deck a 37 card deck. And because of the card just says draw a card and heal 1, it sounds so like minuscule, but you'd be surprised. It's one of those cards you have to test it. When you play it, you're like, oh, I played it and I drew into another card that I needed. It lets you find all your other stuff a lot faster, which I think is super important. Running Black and Scripture at 3 was a very interesting call, because Black and Scripture is a good card, but it can be a little bit weird in your hands sometimes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I also understand it. I run the Cravings Splendor in this slot, and I can kind of understand why going to Black and Scripture might be the better call. I like answering 4 health cards, and this card of 4. These 2 cards don't really do that like at all times. Like this card definitely doesn't, unless you specifically damage something a certain way, like if you snipe and then Black and Scripture. The Surefire can only answer if it's a 4, if it's already evolved into a 4, which there's a bunch of those, so you need that. But sometimes you have this weird thing where people drop a card that's 4 health and it doesn't evolve, and you just can't answer it with like 1 card. That's where the card Craving Splendor comes in, because it can answer. It also heals you 1, which is also really good. So I value the Craving Splendor over the Black and Scripture, but I still run it. I just don't run it at 3. So I think this is an interesting call. I don't disagree with it. I don't disagree with it, by the way. I think it's a playstyle thing. And honestly, like I said, this does come up, especially early on. Your opponent's like trying to slap your cheeks in, and you're like, that's cool, banish it, you know? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you can boost kick or something low enough, and then you want to banish it instead of having to kill it off, because you'd rather it be not existent. Like you'd rather it be out from the cemetery, period. It does come up, especially to Abyss. You can boost kick or something down to like exactly 2 or 3, and then you banish it instead of just killing it, because they can revive it back, right? So it does come up. So I really like the tech, but like I said, his list did change from the when I faced him, because I did play him when I was playing Cool. I think it was playing Cool. So you were playing Cool Egg. I don't remember which deck I was on. I don't want to detail about this deck. This is my favorite deck this set by far. I absolutely love this deck. I liked it in set 5. I like it so much more in this set. Here we have the Evolve, pretty standard Evolve. We got the Phantom. You want to make sure whatever you do with the Evolve, make sure Marwyn stays at 3. It's super important for this card to be at 3. Everything else is perfectly fine. It could be at 1 or 2 copies, but the Marwyn has to be at 3. The 3rd Evolve comes up more than you would expect it to. So if you're playing this deck, keep the Marwyn at 3 to the best. I know it's hard. The evolve space is very tight. You definitely want to keep the card at 3. So here we have the other ones, the Lucifer at 1, and we have the Jean, and then the 2 Corella to Phantom Blader. There's been times where I've thought about bumping the Corella to 3, but it doesn't come up enough. Phantom Blader at 2 is perfectly fine. Jean at 2 is fine. And then the Lucifer, obviously, you want to evolve it once usually. The Bane comes up, so, and it's an 8/7. Here is Abyss. This was another deck I was considering for a long time. It was like my third pick of the 3 decks I was considering. It was cool, Haven PP specifically, and Control Abyss was like my top 3 contenders for what I want to play. I was on this deck for a while, and then I played so much PP Haven that I got off of it because of that, because PP Haven just wrecks this deck. It's really, really hard. It's really hard if they go first. If they know their deck in and out, it's a very hard matchup. But overall, this build is really good. I like it. I think everything in here is actually very solid. It's very similar to what I was playing. I think the only difference was I had Cowie at like 1. And I think I had like, I don't remember what was the other card that I had at 3. I might have had an Uncle at 3, but with 3. But actually very similar thought processes in terms of deck building. I don't remember if we ran SoCon or not. But otherwise, very, very similar thought process. I was a very big fan of Thundering Roar, so I saw some list cut Thundering Roar, and I'm like, well, but why? It's so good. It's so good. It's just too good. I like Thundering Roar. Moderensky just carries this deck sometimes because of just the board clear you can do, and she just helps so much with board clear. So she card. Bronco being added in is a great card because she basically lets you mill 3 on top of getting something in EX zone. You can usually throw in some good cards like some of the higher costs they want to get in there. Really, really good card. And then the Silent Purge is just insane. The Whispers of a Dream is nuts. It's just such a great card. It mills you and also kills a 3 cost or less, which is a big pool of cards they can remove. A lot of good evolve targets is basically just different Surefire, and it does come up. You'll notice there's no Surefire in this list. They're basically just running this over the Surefire, which makes sense. The only thing that's good about the Surefire is that it can target anything because it doesn't care about the cost. But this one, it kills costs easier. Like it has better access to stuff. Surefire can like knock out something high, like you can ping something for 3 and then kill it a different way, whereas this card can't do that. You can't target like an Izzerfil or something, right? So that's the downside. Zuki, this is the card that Haven players supposedly fear. I disagree. I actually think it's very winnable even with Yuzuki. They also have to draw into this. They have to find it. If they don't find it, it's fine. And then if they do find it, you just banish it, and then guess what? They lost it. They're not going to see it again. You can handle a turn under PP Haven with losing one of your dudes with this card, and then you can just recover off of it. Like, as long as you're aware that it'll be touched, you should be fine. Also, keep in mind, it's a 6 pay point play. Just keep that in the back of your head when you're playing into this deck. Like, okay, at 6 they might drop this. If you're going second and you Marwin, you will lose because they'll just drop this and you die. So like, don't Marwin, you know, like you have to play differently. That's basically all I could say towards that. I also really like Cowie. Cowie's like my favorite card in Abyss. I don't know why people really don't like him. I think he's cool as hell. So I really like him. And then triple Izzerfil, you definitely want to be on triple Izzerfil, triple Death's Breath, and then the triple Genjutsu. That's like the staple of the deck. Kind of keeps it going. I think the deck's insane. I just think it has a very hard matchup. It's a banish. This is the evolve, pretty standard evolve, I would say. The 2 Moderensky makes sense. The double Izzerfil, triple Yeoman. You got Ranko in here, and pretty standard. Like I said, pretty good. I think Ranko at 1's perfect. You don't really need the second evolve. It doesn't come up, so this is good. Sometimes the third Genjutsu comes up, but it's really hard making room for a third Genjutsu. You could realistically drop this guy to 2 and put this to 3 and be fine, or drop the Moderensky and put this to 3. I will say the third evolve does come up, but not as much as you would. It only comes up into really slow decks like Haven. This is the last one, another Abyss deck. This is 4th place as Abyss deck, so a little bit different. They vouched for the 4 snipe, which makes sense because this is basically a snipe too. They have the Bell Ringers in here, also running the Dominion, also running Thundering Roar. Like I said, big support of Thundering Roar. They're also run Gavi. I really like this card because it's a storm card. Also, like just dropping it and just board clearing is just really good. It's a perfect one of as well, so I support the one of Dream with this card. I actually do the same thing. Running Olivia, the other list wasn't running Olivia, interestingly enough. Olivia is interesting. It's not, I understand the reason not to run it. I also understand the reason to run it. It's kind of one of those cards where dropping on 5 feels bad because that's all you're really doing. But still, it's not a bad card. We also have Moderensky. Nice Nature is interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of Nice Nature. I used to be, because I used to play Medusa build, and I was a big fan of Nice Nature in there. I think Nice Nature is a little bit slower now, but it's random 3 damage your opponent has to keep taking unless they banish it, which is really funny because they don't want it to die because they don't want to be discarding cards. So it's kind of funny that kind of a funny card because it forces your opponents to have to keep playing around her. Running the 1 Owl card. This card does come up, but I don't. It's a weird one. It's again, it's another storm card. Sometimes you have to close out because Abyss can be kind of slow. And like I said, the storm cards like Arrow Gavi and those cards just kind of help with that. And then the 2 Izzerfil. This build is also really good. I would say the only thing that I'm a little weird about is just 2 Izzerfil. I would definitely have this at 3. I understand the logic of 2 because too many high costs. There comes a point where you just have way too many cards in your hand that are just too high cost, and sometimes you lose because of that because you don't open up all of this and you open up all of this instead as your opening hand, and then after mulligan and everything, you're like sitting there like, I don't do anything, and then you get blasted by like a sword deck out of nowhere, and it really sucks. So I can understand the argument of 2 Israfil. And there's the leader, and that's basically it. That is our top 4. I did kind of went into depth with it. I did spend quite a bit of time testing this format. No, Cool made it through, funnily enough, and it took up the majority of the room. So that says a lot about Cool. And now I'll be honest with y'all, Cool is really good. Don't underestimate Cool. But the issue with Cool is it's also very high roll. And also you have to not face all of this. And as you can tell through all of these lists, it was very obvious that people were aware of Cool. And they definitely kept that in the back of their mind when they chose to pick the deck that they chose. Every single deck here can beat Cool for the most part, unless they get super, super, super high rolled. So something I got to keep in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed that video cards shop. If you need any of your goodies, if you need anything, we are in BCS season right now, so you may need cards. You can use my code ORANGE to help yourself save some money. And that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in a future video. Other than that, guys, peace out, subscribe, like, and all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye.